Great, thank you. Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to the Economic Development Committee for Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. Will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Thank you. All right, the meeting has begun at 6:30 p.m. We'll do non-public around 6:45. All right, let's do call to order, which we did, 6:30 p.m. We did the Pledge of Allegiance. Why don't we go around the table, introduce ourselves, and we'll start over here.
Marion Colby, from a representative from the Heritage Commission.
Peter Ames with the Recreation Commission.
Jeremy Robitaille with Planning Board.
Kimberly Queenan, Selectmen's Rep.
Connie Jackson, resident.
Kim Kleiner, Town Administrator.
Great, welcome everybody. Not here tonight. Peter Plansky will not be here tonight, this evening. Jason Brennan is replacing Diane Plansky, representing Conservation. And Laura Gandia is not here for zoning. And I do not see Jay Mankara here either for representing, I guess, I'd say NRPC. Am I missing anyone? Let me go double check. Well, we'll look at that in our meeting minutes in a second. All right, so let's get down to our business. Approval of the minutes for March 27th, 2024. Has everyone had a chance to read those? Does anyone have any comments?
There was one spot where I thought there was something that might have been a typo.
Okay.
I was talking about Kim Kleiner's meetings at the library. And, let me find it, sorry. I should have highlighted it. It's in the, so it's under G, Municipal Finance and Community Engagement Discussion, and the 5th paragraph says Ms. Varick's upcoming series of lectures.
Miss
Varick, V-A-R-I-C-K apostrophe S. So that should be,
Is it Vicky Varick? Who?
right?
I see section E. Am I looking at the right ones?
It's under G.
G, E, F. I just looked for the keyword library, so let me find you there.
Yes.
You see it?
Yep.
Am I right that that should be,
Yeah.
Mine's
Yeah.
not scrolling
That you
properly.
didn't.
that's all, it's just like a typo
She
thing.
might have wanted to.
Sorry, if for some reason page down's not working, I'm gonna try to scroll manually here. So what paragraph is that on?
The
It's
5th
under
paragraph
G.
under G.
So it was with Ms. Varick's upcoming series of
Yeah.
lectures? So what did you think was wrong with that?
Well, it's not, Ms. Varick didn't give the lectures.
Oh, okay, so yes, Ms. Kleiner, okay, Ms. Kleiner.
I think it
all
was
right.
just a test to see if we read that far in the minutes. And I did.
All right, so we have that. Does anybody else have any other corrections or recollections?
Good.
All right, all set? Oh, okay, I'll entertain a motion if anybody would like to approve the minutes for
I'll move to approve the minutes with that change for,
March 27th.
I'll
Yes.
second Marion's move.
All right, we have a first and a second. All right, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
aye?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain, and no nos, okay, thank you. Great. All right, let's close that. All right, let's get to our next item. So, discussion of follow-up to our outreach surveys. Oh, wait a minute, let me skip one, number 2. Planning and agenda items for the first focus group. So we have 2 members of the audience I haven't seen before. We're in the Economic Development Committee meeting. Hopefully you're in the right place for that. Okay. So are you here for Economic Development Committee to be a part of the focus group? If you'd like to do that, or, yeah? Great, yeah. Do you want them to come on up? Just observing?
For now,
Oh, okay.
you know, just see what it's all about. And
Great.
go from
Thank,
there.
thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, part of the focus group.
You want to be part of the focus group? Yeah. Good.
Thank you also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want me to have them introduce themselves, or do you want me to wait? Because you're still kind of inquiring on it, right? Yeah? You want to come on up and introduce yourself? And sure. Just have to say your name and where you live, right? Legal. So welcome.
Thank you. Aaron Butler, current resident. I'm over on Greenwich Road, so just interested to see what the focus group is about and hopefully participate in that.
Great.
Good.
Good.
So you received the email?
Yes.
I don't know if the whole committee knows that the email went out and what it said.
I knew you were gonna send it, I didn't know what was in it.
So at the March meeting, we discussed the email which Selectman Queenan and Ms. Jackson wrote, and that did go out May 7th. We had a couple of responders, but we asked people to attend this meeting if they could, so that we could kind of develop an agenda and a plan for what that first focus group meeting would look like.
Did you get any other responses than people not showing up tonight?
No. I
Questions from
didn't.
anybody?
No, I did not. But about 300 emails went out.
Okay.
So.
Well, very good. Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, well, why don't we talk about item number 2, planning and agenda items for the first focus group meeting. So, I don't know if people want to go back, and have you watched, do we want to do a quick, you attached the outcome to the original survey here, right?
Yes.
So maybe, I don't know if they can look at that. Do you know how to work that if they want? So we have the results of the survey, if you're interested, and it's a really, I think it's like not many pages. We really showed the highlights of that. We only had 8 questions anyway, right? So why don't we show you that so you can at least see what the first survey looked like, and then we'll be working off of that.
Oh, there you go.
And it also educates everybody out there as well. Just kind of lets us reconnect where we left off. Could you please turn the TV on?
Oh, thank you.
Come on, you.
Yeah, I think it's on.
There you go.
There you go. Let me see if I can call it up here. All right, so we had this survey that we had developed during the elections. We had handed out the surveys for people to fill out, or they could have filled them out online or come into the town hall. We were trying to collect them many different ways. Probably had them at some recreation events as well, right? So I don't know if you can see it from there. If you want to come up up here close, if you want to see it that way. Do you want me to just go over it, or do you want to go over it? It's up, whatever you want to do. Me? All right, I think I'm looking at a different, let me get the pie chart you're looking at. My page 1 here is what are the reasons that attracted you to Litchfield? That's the one I see in the portal here.
Yes,
You're right
because-
below as she is. I don't know why you don't have it on yours.
I don't know why I
Because,
don't have it either.
are you in favor of economic development wasn't in the original.
Oh, do I have to refresh something here?
Yeah.
Is this an older one in the portal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I might have to have you drive it, or do you want me to go up there? Okay, do you mind reading it there? If you, because I don't have it here to read. That's really the issue.
So the first question was, are you in favor of economic development? And I think we had some conversation about this as to were people really aware of what we meant by economic development. But 33% or 381 strongly agreed that they were in favor. Then 394 agreed which represented about 34%. So between the two of those, there's 67% of the respondents. 81 residents disagreed, which was 7%. 86 strongly disagreed, which was 7.4%. And then you had 193 that weren't sure, which represented about 16.7%. So there were some others that didn't answer the questions straight out, but had other information below. So overall, I would say most 67% are in favor of some economic development, whatever that economic development means to them.
Right.
And then, you can kind of see it. The reasons that attracted people to Litchfield. And again, we tried to get an indication if they were born here, so they really didn't choose to come to Litchfield. They were born here, raised here. And then those that came, it seemed like the rural agricultural atmosphere was a big draw, as was the convenient location. Housing availability, which must have been when they came to Litchfield. And affordability. Then, of course, some are, it's a proximity to employment, and others mentioned to be closer to family, and the quality of public schools. So that was kind of the order. The other responses were interesting because we had quite a few that mentioned 55 plus. They came here because it was 55 plus development, sense of community, family-owned land, scenic views, quiet town, small town, 1 acre requirements. These were all had at least a few people that mentioned them, and so included them down here. What are the most important issues that should be addressed by the town over the next 5 years? I think significantly, and maybe it was because of the items that were on the warrant, but improve school facilities was a large one. Preserve agricultural land, preserve open space, protect drinking water, attract new businesses, and control tax increases. So, right across the bow there. And, I think so. One of the items that might be interesting for the focus group, as we're thinking about the focus group going through this, is what's people's understanding of how these things interrelate with each other? Because if you're controlling tax increases, you're either increasing your revenues or decreasing your expenditures.
Right.
Decreasing your expenditures, it's not gonna happen. I mean, it's just not realistic. Some of the fees that the town is getting, we don't have control of, one being stormwater. So that's gonna be very hard to decrease expenditures.
Well, all of the things that people mentioned many of the things like better schools and, quiet, you're gonna need the services that are raising the taxes, so So I think that's a great question, is how do they understand that these two things work together? Like preserving open spaces and having economic development might be at odds with each other if, you know, if we need to find more businesses to come in, they have to have a place to operate.
Right,
Correct.
right. So
So those are
I think
conversations.
understanding that, and there's probably a difference between wanting economic development on Albuquerque versus wanting economic development on Charles Bancroft Highway. So understanding what people mean by that. So those were the large ones. There were some smaller ones. A town sewer system, and having a town sewer system directly impacts what type of economic development you can have. We're very limited as to what economic development we can have because we don't have a sewer system. So that was interesting that people pointed out. And then the number of respondents, so that was just a charting the responses up above. And you can clearly see preserve open space and protect our drinking water, and control tax increases were the largest. But I think some of the interesting comments were the comments received below that question. Because when you asked them, for more information, they wanted a grocery store, a gas station. They wanted to cap the industrial and the commercial. They wanted to prevent more building of townhouses and duplexes. Yet they wanted to support and attract young families.
Yeah.
So, again, it's kind of understanding of most young families, that's kind of the inventory that they can afford. So if you want to hold off on that, creating that inventory, you may not be able to support and attract young families. They did, quite a few mentioned trash pickup. And then preserving the water quality came up again, historic preservation, natural gas, improve education, a town ambulance, and a dog park. Town ambulance would be very nice, but it
Very
would be a
expensive.
very, very
Expensive.
expensive endeavor.
Yeah.
So then we kind of I think we're drilling down throughout the survey. We're kind of drilling down. Would you like to see new businesses versus economic development? And so 82% said yes, or 948, versus 204 or 17% who said no. And some of the responses, and I think this was reflected throughout, it depends on what type. Right? So, I mean, people did understand that they may be in favor of some, but they're not in favor of all. They wanted to keep the small town atmosphere. They weren't interested in strip malls. They weren't, they preferred the small town vibe. Didn't want a lot of traffic. So they weren't really interested in businesses that used a lot of heavy equipment, and they weren't really interested in big chain stores. So, which gives us more, but I think we really need to focus. And so we listed a bunch of businesses, and we asked them if they were interested in these types of businesses. And the one that kind of came out on top somewhat was a farmer's market. So that's interesting.
Proceed to the route.
It doesn't necessarily mean that a farmer's market is going to help control tax increases, but it will help to draw people to Litchfield. And then a microbrewery or winery was really popular, as was restaurants, cafes. And then you got down to more the small businesses, the offices, doctor's offices, individual small shops, that type, bakery, the small. And again, just charting it out, you can see the farmer's market, the winery stand out, as do the restaurants and cafes. Some people mentioned that they would be in favor of light industrial or distribution warehouse. Others said that they wanted to control it and the business must fit the town. So I think drilling down more to find out what people mean by that. What do they consider fitting the town? And then some people mentioned arts and a post office, a senior center, things of that sort. And so then we asked, what's your connection to Litchfield? And 98.8%, which was no surprise because most of them were at the polls, lived here. And would they be interested in serving on a focus group? 14.4% said yes. Would they be interested in receiving future emails and updates? 347 or 30% said yes. And our IT department has preserved those emails and created them into a group only to be used for this purpose. And that was it.
That's a very nice report, the way it, how the information has been captured there.
I think it was a really good survey.
Yeah.
I really do. I think, we took our time. It took months to get it together, but
I think one thing that people need to see is the zoning map, to see exactly, like, you had a variety of businesses, but I seem to get the feeling that a lot of them want the amenities to help us in town. Like the bakeries, it's gonna bring in few people, but probably people inside the town, the cafes. Farmers market will bring in other people, but the tax impact, I'm not sure how much that would help. But I think that if people understood where you could actually put in some businesses, might help them decide what kind of businesses. Because like you said, putting it on Albuquerque is a far cry from putting it on Charles Bancroft, and I don't know how much land is actually available on Charles Bancroft to do it.
right.
So if, that needs to be explained.
So this map here, or the
Well,
current
we have the
one.
newer one from
Yeah, we have
NRPC.
the new one.
We
I
post,
have-
we post that one.
Yeah, I have a new one that NRPC created for us that by color coding has the different zones and also what is empty, what is open space, and so they created two for us to use during focus groups.
I think that would be really key.
I do too. You can see where the schools are, where the
Sure.
high residential areas are.
Yep.
So the color coordinating tells you which ones are industrial, commercial, residential. And the model the town has worked under for at least probably about 30 years has been the northern part and southern part of town are where the businesses would be, and the residents would be in the center. So, because we had that, we don't want to bring up the old history, but what was that circle down there gonna be? The circumventional highway was gonna be coming in, so that, it's not. So, but we need an updated version of this.
We do.
So, one of the things is you can change zoning, but it's gonna take voting to do that, right? It's not just a stroke of a pen, right? If all of a sudden more commercial would show up. Right now, there isn't commercial in the center. down along 3A, right? Not a lot.
But to have a business, then you'd have to get a zoning variance.
But there is commercial on some of the farms
Yeah,
on 3A over down near Wilson's area there, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway, but that might be, we have to look at our zoning ordinances as well, if that was what it comes to. Okay. So I agree with you, that's helpful because most of the public doesn't know that. I didn't know it until I walked into the planning board. Right? Really? So it was a good design.
And there's rumors, like this area is zoned commercial, well, we don't know if it is or not.
Right.
Because general public doesn't know.
So you are right. Where did the coffee shop go? Where would light industrial go? Where, you know, today it would go there, but where would it be strategic would be another question.
Agreed.
Well, based on our survey here, one quick comment I'll make here is bakery had a large response rate. We actually have a bakery in town. It's barely in town, but it is in town.
Right.
So
Right.
people may not know where town actually is. So that's another thing with that map might help out a little bit.
That's a good point.
And I think people need to be realistic. So if you're putting a business in Litchfield and the primary visitors are going to only be Litchfield residents, that business may not be highly successful.
May not drive, no.
So, I mean, you have to weigh that. There are specific businesses that you can target that don't rely on patronage of local residents. They don't rely on patronage of anyone to their establishment. Then you're getting into more of a warehouse or a distribution.
E-commerce,
or-
warehouse, yeah.
Right, yeah. You know, a small tubes or something of that sort. But
Is the problem with those kind of businesses gonna be the fact we don't have sewer? Is that gonna be an issue?
So that could be an issue for a large, like a grocery store or even a large restaurant. That could be an issue. Something smaller, even industrial, or a smaller warehouse,
Okay.
probably not, because they're not gonna have a large amount of employees.
Okay.
So it's all based
Or
on,
visitor traffic, so.
yeah.
So if I look at the initial results up to the type of businesses people wanted, it was a lot of eating and drinking.
Yeah. The old
So they
shorties
want
days.
eating and drinking for economic development, but I don't think financially that's going to give us all the tax money we're gonna need, right?
Right.
Obviously, so
What kind of businesses actually bring in a good tax base?
that's a question, that is a good question. I would have to probably research more on that, because you can see surveys go either way, right? So the town, which town was it? Was it Derry or Londonderry that really went commercial a lot? Was it Derry or Londonderry? Do you know?
Well, both, but Londonderry grew.
Yeah.
And is it helping them financially? I mean, I don't think we're gonna have that growth, but don't have the land, but Bedford bet their town on growth, right? And it's, looks like on paper they're worth a lot of money right now, right? Just
And
for what
Bedford
they
is
built.
actually helping surrounding towns by pushing economic development to them, and suggesting other areas of businesses that are still trying to get into Bedford.
Yeah, Merrimack's booming with them,
Yeah.
the building going on. So they're betting on commercialism. They are actually getting lots of variances to flip residential to commercial, or the other way, commercial to residential, or the other way. So they either want the housing or the businesses. So we haven't had any plans, we haven't gotten there yet, but didn't one of the towns, it was Derry or Londonderry, really built a lot of businesses, and I don't know if it helped them or not,
Londonderry built,
long-term is what you're saying.
Londonderry built up by the Pettingill area, well, on that area, but they had like one of those TIF districts, and with like New Balance, you did like a payment in lieu of taxes. So they're trying to be creative to get businesses in there
Okay.
as well, so.
But is it a net positive or net drain? I don't know. So that's what you're asking, is it what kind of businesses come in,
Yeah.
actually make money, right, or contribute to the tax base? So I don't know. I'll have to do some research.
Pilots are great for certain types of businesses.
What is great?
Pilots, payment in lieu of taxes. You generally see pilots with hospitals. You generally see, where part of their business may be considered nonprofit, or they may have a nonprofit component. But you want to be really careful. And as far as a TIF district, you've got to be careful because that money that is generated becomes earmarked. So it's not for the general.
Are those a limited time, opportunity, so you build a business and you get,
Right.
tax break for so many years, is that?
Yeah, you generally have a very specified amount of time, so improvement between, X and Y.
So that the deal is eventually the town benefits with the increased taxes.
Right, but when you name the TIF district, you're naming what those funds will be used
I see.
for. And so, I suppose if you wanted to do something in a specific area,
Right.
you could use that, but it's not gonna help your general tax
Right.
revenue.
Because if I look at this, and the high numbers of being a coffee shop, a farmer's market, a vineyard, winery thing, and let's see what else was high. The pub and tavern, a restaurant. I don't know how much revenue the town receives from those kind of ones. So I would think for the focus group, it might be good to say, these are the ones that will bring in most of the money to the town. These will benefit people coming in, the town residents as well. But I think, and I'm talking personal, I wouldn't know. I can't imagine a farmer's market brings in a lot for the town on taxes, but it brings people into the town.
Yes.
And will they utilize other services in the town at that point?
Right.
That might be the
Destination.
long-term look.
It's more of a destination, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so one of my takeaways from kind of how to cross-reference these pieces, right, is that to the point of food, smaller businesses that fit town, where people gather a lot. So I think these things are assets for the vitality of the town, right, and the experience of living in town, but certainly are separate from the tax piece, right? If people were drawing connections between those, that'd be interesting, because I think that'd be an educational piece that we could do small businesses, but it's not going to change the overall trajectory of the taxes in the town. But it rung true for me in that people like to gather, and be connected in town. The farmers market one in particular, right? Because in one sense, it makes a lot of sense because of the agriculture and the history of the town. At the same time, we have one of the best assets already in town with a very active farm that is essentially a farmer's market in many ways, right? So it's not like that's a deficiency, but the fact that it got up so high was again, kind of hit the point that we want places to gather to in town that are small, fit the mold. But I think it is definitely detached from the tax solution. It's two different lanes, I guess, in my mind.
Because I know a couple of people I talked to, their impression of economic development is to bring in more money to the town, drop the taxes down.
Right.
That's kind of what they were hoping would happen. And, I think these things that businesses Litchfield wants to see are great ideas. I'm just not sure on the tax base.
Right.
Like you said.
There's no silver bullet for Litchfield in this case. There's gonna be a lot of small stepping stones, and we got to choose which we want to approach first and kind of go from there. So,
Yeah. So that's one of the things when we were doing the municipal series, the municipal finance series, I found is not a lot of people understand.
Okay, I found this on the web for the
Sorry.
municipal fine.
Apparently my phone found it. The difference between certain types of properties and what brings in more revenue than others. So understanding that your farms and your agricultural land, that's current use. I mean, most of that's current use. It's taxed very low. And for good reason, right? Because you want to promote their vitality to keep them going. The focus there is kind of the economic, the other economic drivers that those those types of
The secondary
businesses
effects
drive.
from
Right,
this.
food source and that sort. Where, I was asked, I think it was a board of selectmen, that, I did the illustration of if you had another small tubes. And, what kind of benefit that provides, because there's not a lot of town services. There's really none that needs. And then there was a lot of conversation about cost of community services. And so these are, studies that became big a few years back, mostly driven by farmland trusts. They got big into these studies. They are very, very helpful if done for the right reasons. They generally can provide you an accurate reflection on the land uses you have now and what those land uses are costing the municipality. They're not so much used to predict the future and what land use in the future should predict. And so the UNH Economic Development did a study on these. So lots of times you'll hear COCS study. And that's certainly something you want to look at, but there aren't a number of properties within Litchfield, other than residential, that may have children in school systems that are driving large costs. Not within Litchfield. And certainly there's benefits to having your, open space and things of that sort. And while that land doesn't cost the taxpayers, it doesn't benefit you either.
Tax-wise.
It's tax-wise, it has other benefits. So,
Secondary benefits,
yeah.
recreation and so forth and so on.
right.
I know we talked about it before. It's about who's gonna come to Litchfield, and I think that's one of our biggest challenges, especially for small businesses. I think we've seen multiple businesses and restaurants come in and out of town, and they just can't sustain because they're not getting, the business that they need. So I think, even though people want that, we've had them, and we've seen a lot of them, unfortunately, not succeed. So that, I think, is problematic in itself, because like you said, if I'm gonna open up a business, am I gonna come to Litchfield? I don't know. I think you're gonna be hard pressed to come to Litchfield if you wanna be a successful, thriving business. But if you're a warehouse, or, a box thing or something like that, a manufacturing business, yeah, I think Litchfield might be a nice place because you're close to the airport, we have some benefits there. But then I don't think the people in the town really want to see a warehouse, or they want to see that. So I think you got this conundrum of, well, we want this, but those businesses are not going to succeed, and the businesses that will bring us money to the tax base, people don't want them because it changes the feel, it doesn't fit in.
Right, I think that what Connie was saying, though, to figure out like, okay, which ones bring more money and show people how it would actually look, with their taxes. Okay, if we did put up a warehouse, we'd end up with, they would pay this much in taxes, which would reduce our, there'd be work on the backside of that. But I understand what you're saying, though, totally, because the things that people want aren't necessarily the things that are gonna bring.
And I think to
enough
bring
money.
like if we go to the warehouse, to bring in warehouse to a point where it's gonna have a noticeable effect on the tax rate, we're gonna need a lot of warehouses too, so.
Yeah,
And
right.
I don't think people want that in Litchfield. I think, people want the small shops and they want that type of stuff. So I don't know how to reconcile those two things, but I think it's a real issue to figure out for the town.
And I think there's a limited amount of available land for a warehouse.
So LKQ went in.
Yeah.
Is there some, I don't like to pry in companies' businesses, but is there some way we could get a number? It's a warehouse, kind of. It's in the woods, down the hill,
Yeah, it
nobody
doesn't
sees
bother
it.
anybody, really.
Low traffic, they're forced to go left out of the driveway, right, so they
Yeah.
don't stay. So it's good if it's hidden, like Fidelity's in a campus in the woods, right? Nobody knows it's there, right? So that is there some kind of an economic, we could get some numbers if that, but they don't have a lot of staff. I don't know what they pay taxes on. The land?
the land.
They don't have trucks?
And the
Do they have a lot of
building.
trucks, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone's assessments and everyone's worth is public
public,
information.
right.
So, I mean, certainly that's what I ran the numbers on. And I think, you know, it
So-
dropped.
That's what we're collecting, is real estate taxes and so on land and buildings, that's,
Well, and vehicles if they register in town too,
Impact
so.
fees.
oh, vehicles,
vehicle
okay, I didn't
registration.
think of that one, that's
So
good.
you did small tube. Did we have, did I see LKQ? I don't remember if I did. Is that something because that's more what
Yeah, I think
Laura's saying.
example A, so, the presentations, the PowerPoints to the presentations will be up on the new website tomorrow. So tomorrow
Right,
at
right.
noon, we launched the new website, and we're all really excited, because it's been a lot of work.
Right.
Not, and so this is a driver. A lot of people that I was talking to said, well, oh, you're doing a new why are you doing a new website? Let's be very clear. The town, come June of 2025,
Mhm.
would have been in big trouble, because you have to have an ADA accessible website as of June 2025. And the towns wouldn't have qualified.
Right,
Oh, so we just jumped ahead and we got a really good deal, but the PowerPoints to those presentations are up there, and in there are those examples that I'm talking about.
so, for instance, if somebody rents a space to put in a bakery in a building that already exists, it's not bringing anything.
The landlord is the one paying us money. for
Right.
taxes.
Right,
Yeah.
but he's already paying taxes on the building, because, like, say, for
Right.
instance, where Tamara's was where the Litchfield store is.
Well,
So
the
getting a
bakery.
new business in that particular space, or a public business or whatever in there, really isn't going to benefit. So a lot of the things that were on that are of no benefit for tax impact.
Possibly not directly, but the secondary effects that we.
Right, no, I understand, I mean, I'm not suggesting that it wouldn't be a great idea, but I'm just thinking, going along with Connie's line, that, you know, people, you know, they filled out this survey, but they didn't have the info.
Right.
So maybe, you know, that's something we need to think about, because they need, you know, people need to realize that if they're looking for lower taxes, and that was the point of the economic development in their mind, then they have to realize that that's gonna equate to some kind of a building that they might not be that interested in,
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's not a good-sized gathering space, is one of the issues, right?
right?
Well, that one there, park, there's a whole bunch of issues. but
Not many
Yeah.
buildings.
It's
Other
around
developable
where it is.
land could provide a more aesthetically pleasing building.
Right.
That would fit our town's dynamics.
Mhm.
But we need someone to go ahead and buy in to go ahead and develop said land to do that task.
So they're gonna have to develop the building, it looks like, if they want a restaurant or whatever, right? We don't have buildings here for them to rent or buy that are big.
Yeah, you
102,
don't really
they're
have
small.
anything that I can think of that's.
So the storage unit idea, we kind of killed that on the planning board, because the Amazon went into Hudson, and we didn't want that here, so we kind of, remember, we minimized that. A lot of people did work on that. What
Did
was I
it
gonna
go into
say?
Hudson, did they approve that for Hudson?
Yeah,
Green Meadow.
the available land also of what is commercial available is not a lot either. So if you want to have that, what are there, 5 lots maybe? I don't know how many lots are left. So that's another constraint, right?
Well, I have a question, it's probably zoning, but where small tube is is that area larger that we could put in more stuff into that one complex?
Does he own that building?
Yeah.
But is there more land in the commercial
think
industrial
so.
part of that to expand on?
It's
There's
bounded by
across the
both
street
sides.
going
Yeah.
But not where small tube is.
He owns that whole lot, parking
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah,
everything.
OKQ's right next to him on one side, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that lot
they're-
of land was sold, and some of the
Yeah.
land in the back was sold to Mel's, and, yeah.
Okay.
I think that family only has one big lot left where that other warehouse was gonna go.
Okay.
But there was some wetlands issues with that.
So we have everything around us, infrastructure, beautiful highways, airports, those highways are new. We can get to anything. It's not like something has to come here, right? What you were saying, right? So, Yeah, and it might be that we decide, or whoever, the voters or, the public just says, make it residential, and build it out. That's another option, is building.
And if I'm a developer and I own land, obviously developers they look at the dollar amounts. Housing is what they're gonna
make more.
tip their hat to, absolutely.
Which would bring more smaller stores, I think, but that's what I'm thinking, but I don't know, I'm not the investor. So, we got a lot of land in the middle, and some towns do that. Right. So you're on the impact fees, we are on capital improvement here. We see what we need coming. It's millions and millions, and we're talking 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars, right? New police station, whatever is gonna happen with the school, whatever, library, so.
Well, it's not really like pie
That's
in the
new
sky
buildings.
things. These are
That's
things
new
that are
stuff,
very
right?
necessary.
So that money is generated when new development happens or something's modified for, for more public use, but, so we're looking at down the pike at those numbers, right? And we're gonna be looking at our tax bills. When is the reassessment happening?
2025.
Hopefully, do we expect it to go up, down? I don't know how things, personal tax bills are gonna,
Well, but tax bills, assessments and tax bills are two separate things. We had a leadership meeting today, department heads and I, and it is not looking good. And we're not talking about wants. We're talking about increases in existing contracts, stormwater and EPA mandates, things that we don't have control over. This budget is gonna be tough.
you're talking this year coming up?
2025,
Okay.
the one that will come to you this summer.
Great.
It's going to be very difficult. And we've cut everything you can possibly cut. So I'm not sure, generally you look at what mandates you have coming down and what can you reduce in other areas. Well, we've taken all the police cars out of the budget. There's nothing left.
Well, no, that's what I was mentioning. These things on the CIP, they're not pie in the sky kind of desires. These are really, necessary. All the departments have really pared it down to the very necessary. They're not it's not like a wish list. These are things that have to be done, so.
We can't get the money through a commercial way, we need to go to the residential, right, to pay. 'Cause that's what I'm trying to say, so.
So that might shift how the focus group will look at this too. Because if the focus group has been, as people I talked to, all thought it was gonna be business oriented. And we have limited space for the businesses. And if they renovate, like you were saying, if they renovate a previously empty building, we're not collecting anything on that except because the landlord's paying for the building as it is, right?
Correct, as far as the town directly benefits, but once again, the secondary benefits is huge,
Right.
right? So I'll use Mel's as an example. So you have Mel's, and you have Day of the Dead. They cross-pollinate each other, right? So I want food, oh, now I want ice cream. I'm gonna play some mini golf.
Right.
It's one of those things. So
Yeah.
many other businesses can have the same effect. They just need the location to do it, which we don't currently have now. We have nowhere to do these things.
Right, so the secondary benefits, I understand.
Yep.
That's really good. But I'm thinking that maybe the focus group will say, okay, we really don't want Amazon in here. We don't want some of the businesses that would actually bring in a bigger amount for a tax base because we don't want the looks of it, or traffic or whatever it may be. They may say, okay, let's just take this land and get it moved into residential so the builders will come in and buy it. At least we'll be getting property taxes, which will go according to how.
So I'll let Kim answer that one real quick. Go ahead, Kim.
Yes, no?
I'm sorry, so I'm not sure, what was the question?
All I was thinking is that maybe the focus group will look at it not so much on on the business side of bringing in businesses to bring up more revenue for the town, as opposed to residential houses that will bring in at least a tax base of resident taxes.
So that leads to a good point, because I've heard a lot of misconceptions. One being, so we just looked at our MS1, which is the assessment of the town, and our commercial raised pretty good.
Okay.
And the first question I got was, wow, there's no new businesses. You have two major developments that are happening, you have Rose Meadows, and you have Corning Farm.
Right.
Both are commercial. Be careful. People living there doesn't mean that it's necessary residential. Those are rentals owned by a commercial business. They're commercial properties, so they they cause your commercial line on your town
Interesting.
assessment to go up. But people don't think of them
I know
that
that.
way, right? And so there's a commercial line item
Okay.
or property that could cause increases in your school costs, right? Which is what
Right.
lots of people think, that's why we want commercial, so that we don't have an increase in our
Right.
school costs. So not everything is equal.
So then we've got the other problem where people didn't want, they wanted 55s, or they wanted houses. They didn't want to see townhouses and condos going up. So now that takes off the commercial part.
Right.
You're not gonna get that in residential unless you go like HOAs or something.
I mean, generally, your townhouses, your rented properties, those are commercial properties.
Right.
Anything larger than 4 units.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
We could do the flip of that. In the middle there could be a big piece of land that somebody owns that would entertain making that a small town center or a small business area, even though it's in residential in the middle of the town now, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has 20 acres, I don't know, 50 acres, maybe. They would say put a little industrial pod in there, right? That everybody could get to.
Hmm.
So
There's
that's
a-
another option.
It's a community in Virginia that kind of did a little contained, and it has apartments, but they're very nice, kind of a farm vibe in the design of them, and they're woven in with stores underneath them. So there's little shops underneath them, so it's kind of a contained pod. And it went like hotcakes. But they're small little restaurants. I mean, maybe 10, 12 tables. So it's something that is fed just from the people that live in that area.
So like the villages,
Yeah, sort of
Yeah.
like that.
community within a community.
Community, yeah.
That's what they did in Europe, right? You lived upstairs and you worked downstairs.
Yeah, lots of people did. Yeah.
The village, so I don't know, I'm not, me personally, but I'll obviously do whatever the town wants. Mixed use as far as like, when I go on Londonderry to Market Basket and you got the apartments next door, me personally, I don't like them, but if someone in town
I
may,
think that's
I don't know. But that
Life
seems to be
Care Estate
popular
type
lately.
property. I think that's that Life Care Estate, the Baldwin. Pretty sure that's where
The
that
one
is.
next to Market Basket?
I think it's on that road, yeah.
Oh, that, they do have
But-
yeah, they do have that facility on the right-hand side, right, when you're going towards them, but then Market Basket's up on the left.
But you had the Orange Theory that has in the gym, that's all residential on the first floor, and then you have luxury
Is that what they do?
apartments, the second, third, and fourth floor.
Right.
And then you have the Baldwins towards the back, towards
okay,
93.
I'm pretty sure we don't currently allow building that height yet in town.
But again, zoning ordinances can
so-
change, the zoning can change.
Not quite there
No,
yet,
not-
but maybe
not
a couple
yet.
levels we
I don't
go.
know if I like 8 levels, but that's a step, yeah, that's not.
But I do think
You're gonna need water and
the,
such.
the zoning change, like if we do, come with whatever recommendations about change to zoning and we want to have like commercial more in the center of town, I think a good thing to focus on is going to be the look of those buildings, because I think it was Hollis or Brookline, they have a Dunkin' Donuts, that's beautiful. It looks like a
is,
cute
yeah,
little farm, building of some sort. And I think from my interaction with the folks in town, if we're gonna have those type of, commercial activities on Charles Bancroft Highway, which I think is our gym, people aren't gonna wanna see big box. They're gonna wanna see smaller buildings, smaller buildings with a certain feel to them, like a certain look to them. You know what I mean? That, you need to have certain, peak roofs and stuff on the roof and certain colors and designs and that type of stuff. So I think that's something to consider too when we're talking about zoning.
Yeah, Hollis did do that in the center. And they have a little coffee restaurant in there, I think.
MT's, yeah, MT's over
And
there.
all that stuff, the little bakery. I think that's a perfect little area. It's a little bank, but you don't notice it's a bank.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be on the Charles Bancroft Highway. They can have a road off of it going, just look at the highway there, right? Charles Bancroft, just pick a piece of land, have a
Like
road going into the big piece of land, right? So it's
Yeah.
not being seen from the Charles Bancroft Highway, so they can see the river.
Oh, yeah, those properties
So you
have
can
some
hide them in
depth.
the back.
Absolutely.
Even that being said, though, anything we want to develop here, if we want to have a decent-sized building, it can be designed in a way to look like it's more chopped up and aesthetically pleasing to our town's wants and needs, right? So it could be 10,000 square feet in 8 units, but it has depth and height changes, and it looks like more like a farmhouse or whatever else we want to design it as, so it fits us and people get behind, that kind of design, which our zoning laws already kind of require to be some things right now, so.
And there are other communities that have, as part of their initial design review process, certain commissions that will look at the building and make recommendations, not binding, but be like, hey, that blue is a little bit too bright for Litchfield, could you tone it down? And,
Right.
kind of go back and forth with the developer, or you have this big, 50-foot wall, you need to break it up. Can you put something on the bottom, or, reposition your windows? So that's always a good thing to take a look at as well.
And we just did this at the planning board a few weeks ago, actually. We just did a slight plan adjustment for one of the developers in town, so they're amenable to it. It looks great. In the end, I think the town will be happy with what's being built there, so.
We brought up at one of the meetings, it's like 4 small towns here. We have the people in the northern part of town go out through Manchester, right? Or we have the people who live near 102. Some of them don't even travel down 3A, right? It's almost like we have 4 little towns, right? So something in the middle of town that is commercial might bring more people together for that smaller town feel that you were talking about. So,
Well, you remember when Litchfield was divided? North End went to Manchester schools, South End went to Elvin. Was it Hillcrest Road or Pinecrest that divided
I think it was Hillcrest.
Hillcrest?
I mean, I understand the idea of keeping the commercial properties out 102 and down on Charles Bancroft, but realistically, there's not enough property there. There's just not. I mean, we're 102, we're putting properties on properties on top of properties. And if that really is the desire, then we've got to start looking at the property on Charles Bancroft Highway and start having a plan. Because I don't think we do now in those properties. I mean, they could be sold, anything could happen. I mean, they're privately owned, so.
But I'd still say commercial development should be hidden further back, so you don't see it from the road. It's a road off of Charles Bancroft into the development. I would hate, because people told me years ago, TD Bank, True Value, that whole road used to look like Charles Bancroft Highway. And now it's all, retail or whatever. And that could happen if we aren't careful, right? We could still leave it looking country as long as we get the roads to get the traffic off of 3A and into the center.
Yeah, which is another
If
issue.
there's
So
landowners
access for
willing to
us
do it.
Would be challenging with Albuquerque and Hillcrest being our 2 main arteries there. Neither one's really designed for any more width. So, at least we have sidewalks in Lower Albuquerque, but Hillcrest, there's nothing there
I'm
at
not
all.
saying put a whole industrial park back there, I'm just saying
I'm just
like
saying, anything that's to
a
be
pod of
drawing
stores.
outside town people might be a little bit much for the center of town. It would be nice to have a nice modern downtown, which we currently don't have, so.
Kim, can I ask you, what you said there struck something for me about the properties that are privately owned, right? Like, we don't control that, right? They can do whatever they want. I thought I heard you or someone say earlier that there's a map that shows the lots that are available. Is that something we could take a look at? Because that, to me, would kind of inform, like, what actual options do we have here? Because if it's a privately owned lot,
Yeah,
it doesn't
there's-
matter if it's in the perfect spot for a town center. If it's not, no.
Oh, but that's the second round to bring the stakeholders in, and see if they're even interested in it. But we can't say,
You mean
we
bringing
want
the-
that,
the focus
have a
group in.
conversation with them, or?
You mean a focus group type Or you mean the people?
So
Should be
maybe-
after the focus
So
groups.
maybe there's a 40-acre parcel that,
Yeah.
would be a good candidate, we don't have any say, the landowner does, right? So that stakeholders have to come to the
We
table.
can approach them with, this is
Yeah.
what the town would like to do this, we see interest in this, and see if they wanna go ahead and sell land, develop land, whatever they wanna do for their personal property. So,
Right.
if we give them some information, it'd be very helpful for them to make a choice.
I think you're right. We
If
do
they're
need
amenable
that-
to make
we
a-
need
to
that
making a
map, those
change.
maps.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. And in answer to your question, yeah, I have two large ones that, the NRPC made especially for the focus groups,
Oh, good.
or public education, or, I think maybe we'll just hang one in here would be a good thing to put up and leave up, but, it's difficult because if you don't have a plan, it's gonna get away from you. And you got, one or two things are gonna happen. Individual landowners are going to sell their property to something that the town may not necessarily want. Or it doesn't get used in any economically benefit way. And you only have so much land. I mean, there's only so much land.
So we need to have this all done by 25, right? And all the fire department and school and everything else is gonna be coming up again?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's coming up, and I know just from our leadership meeting, the things that department heads, all totally explainable and total needs we're saying, and you can't put that with a new school and not lack of, I don't want this to pass anyone, but you have to do something about the police department. That's a need, that's not a want anymore. You have, jails and things that don't meet code anymore. That's real. You have to do something.
So we have to have all these businesses in town, get some money before
Okay,
25, right?
well, yeah, you won't have
Okay,
it.
that's a goal for us.
We had spent time on the planning board on build-out, is if the zoning ordinance didn't change, not zoning ordinance, but the land, the way it's cut up, there was a calculation on build-out of how many homes are left to be built in Litchfield before we hit that number, because once you build all the houses you can, your tax base is done, right? Then it's just paying more and more as you go, right? So there was calculations with Jen Sins way back. I don't know, I'm trying to remember if it was an acre and a half minimum. They threw out the land that was wet,
Yeah.
it couldn't be a downward slope, you know what I mean? We figured out what was buildable, but that would be handy too, because how many homes are left to build? 700, 1,000? I don't know. I don't remember the number we came up with way back. Plus, we've been building. So whatever the build-out number was, tells us how many homes we can build with that color scheme that you see there, right? 'Cause when you're done, you're done. No more homes can come in.
Yeah, that's
That's your tax base cap, rebid it.
and that's a bigger issue with Litchfield, is there's a number of lots that aren't buildable.
The other thing
It's a
is,
significant amount of space, and we just got told by the EPA, we just saw the new map of what the EPA will consider our new MS4 area, and it's growing substantially.
What's the MS for?
Stormwater, so governed by the EPA permit. So there's a new permit that's being developed, although definite questions by Nick on when it's gonna come out. I liked his answer a little better than NHDES, but, yeah, so right now, it's mainly this, this center area, and right in the center of town that we have to be mainly concerned with, down Albuquerque. That's extending out towards the river, more, and towards the north.
So we need a bunch of information.
Yep.
um,
Build
For
up.
this focus group. We need that zoning map, we need the
Yep.
available land maps, we need information on what you were just talking about.
Yep.
What businesses produce some income.
You're talking about the LKQ and the,
Yeah.
small tube. And then build out. If, I know it's a lot, and she's so busy, I go by on the weekend, she's here, so, yeah, we got, when you can. There is a push to build homes, there's a housing shortage too, so that's an outside pressure that we're also.
You were right. I mean,
Coming
if somebody has a piece of land, builder says, like, I'll offer you this kind of money for it. We know land is valuable. And he's gonna do it.
Finite resource.
I don't blame them.
I feel like Japanese when you're building towers.
So was that the quantities you were looking for? You wanted the current map?
Yeah.
And you wanted how many, yeah, really current, right, what was available, right?
Yeah.
So Peter wanted that for
by
available
chance-
lots.
Can you work up really rough?
Oh, she's gonna be gone for 2 months. Look at
Let's
all this.
say warehouse, what that would bring in for tax revenue.
Yeah.
Per acre, square foot, however you wanna break it up, versus this comparable single-family home.
Yeah.
And please include the offset of police, school, all that stuff versus
Yeah,
the
we-
residential side. Just to show people, I mean, like the way it looks, but it would offset this many dollars, something like that.
We weren't laughing, but we said, if you leave it residential, show them what their tax will be in 5 years. If you don't do anything, if you do this, if a hybrid, you know what we were saying, let them, if you say somebody sees a $14,000 tax bill, they might say, we need to do something, right? Not saying it's that, but it's coming. It is coming. It's frightening, it's coming.
And especially what you just said, I mean.
So,
you know, think about that too, and I mean, I think the town needs to, and the school needs to have some type of long-range plan. If we need things, there needs to be a systematic and pragmatic way of getting things done, keeping cost in mind. But if the school's asking for this and we're asking for this, people are gonna be like, forget it, I'm voting no on everything. You know, so I think there needs to be that systematic approach and a long-range plan to say, okay, well, the most pressing need is the jail cells. I don't know, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Because we need that for the police station. So we're just gonna put this on the ballot this year. And then, you know what I mean? Just a little bit better long-range planning, so the hit isn't so hard on people.
Kim, are we still open right now to the public?
oh, I can open it on, I'm sorry, that was
I
at
just want to see if they
6:45.
have any comments.
Yeah, sorry. But do you have all the numbers you needed?
Yes.
You have, Peter, what you wanted, and the build out, you know.
Yeah.
There's another number, but I'll ask you for that later. All right, let me just get rid of this for popping up. I don't know why that is. I have to hit that, I guess. All right, so non-public.
No.
I can close this window. Hold on. Hold on.
Public.
Hold on, guys. There we go. So we're in public, right?
Just making sure.
I never opened public, right?
I don't recall.
I did not. So let's open it up to the public at 7:41. I'm an hour late. Does anybody from the public want to come up? And
You witnessed our last hour here. You guys have any comments at all? Anything you want to say?
there's a lot coming at you.
I wouldn't say it's a comment.
Oh, come on up. Yeah.
But I've never served on a focus group, so maybe give me some insights into what the focus group does, what their responsibilities are, how much time is involved with being with the focus group, things like that. It's a newbie question, so.
Do we need his name and address for
Yeah,
coming
because-
up?
Yeah,
Oh,
name
sorry,
and address.
Jim Sayer,
Yeah.
8 Chamberlain Drive.
Well, do you want to explain your situations? You just joined us recently, so what you went through and what you've been dealing with?
Oh, it's been awful.
Okay.
Well, I think the focus group is different than the economic development group.
Yeah, right.
We were kind of like putting the whole thing together.
Sort
and-
of, yeah.
And say that we want to go to the public and say, okay, you guys did this great, answered the survey for us. Okay, so now let's take that and narrow it down to even further, like you've heard. We're trying to figure out what brings in the most revenue, what doesn't bring in revenue, what's the look people want in the town, and all that stuff. That's kind of how I see the focus group, and I don't see it being a big time commitment.
No.
Maybe 2 meetings at the most. That's just what I
Trying
see.
to, assess, like, if somebody said they were interested in economic development, what did they see in their mind when they were thinking that? And what brought them to the town, and how do you see the two reconciling themselves?
And
That
Kim,
sort of thing. Just opinions,
Focus
really.
group has to be public, correct, or not?
Yes, the focus group has to be in public, and I think the harder part's gonna be getting your friends and your neighbors and others to participate. So,
That's gonna be tough.
yeah, the best focus groups consist of a good percentage of the residents. And so, I mean, most of us are in multiple meetings and we share each other's views every day. It's not our views we're looking for, it's the people that responded to the survey. And so, helping to get the word out and get people to the focus group meetings, and then sometimes it works out better if you have groups, and so that people can talk amongst, so having one individual that will kind of take the question and lead the maybe group of 8 or 10 people in developing the question, another person who's a note taker and who will write down the ideas. So if we have 100 people, which would be phenomenal.
Yeah, right.
The stars right now, so.
She shoots for the stars.
Having 10 groups of 10 people, and so you need a note taker, and
yeah.
you need a leader to kind of ask the questions and develop. Those generally work out best, where residents are allowed to talk to each other and work through ideas.
Kind of a brainstorming
Yeah.
thing.
I think brainstorm is a good way, Jim, to describe a focus group. It's just, getting ideas, like picking people's brains to, see what they think and questions, a lot of interaction and dialogue and back and forth about whatever the topics are that would be discussed at that meeting.
So is this reaching out to people, or is it getting people just to come to the meeting and then have the discussions when we're here?
When you were here, so
When
there'd
you're
be a
here.
focus group meeting, so whoever came, but we only had 14.48 to say that they wanted to join a focus group, which is very low. But as Kim said, I mean, the more people you have, because we all kind of know, I think I know what Kim thinks, I think, we kind of know what everybody's thinking, but it's not us, we need to hear from the residents, and that's the only way we can do that is by getting people to come to the focus
Right,
group.
and citizens of this town are always, it surprises me, their varied backgrounds and what their career paths have been and so forth. And so people bring, different information, different views, and might come up with some grand ideas that we hadn't thought of. So we're looking for that kind of input.
I'd say for the experience, it's a facilitated conversation, and it's meant to not get to a final answer necessarily. So it wouldn't be like, is a coffee shop a good or bad idea, yes or no, right? They would say, how would you feel about a coffee shop? Why do you feel that way? What would be the positives, what would be the negatives? And try and draw out some themes from that. So it's not meant to get to here's the final opinion from this group, so much as what can we learn by digging deeper into some of these pieces.
Right. So to piggyback on Peter's thing here, coffee shop, I'm assuming you want more than just coffee. Why would you want to go to said coffee shop? Is it to go ahead and have Wi-Fi access, to go ahead and meet people, and figure out why people in town really want said items, so we can go and present them now to possible landowners, to have them, persuade them to help develop in that direction, something like that. As we showed you a little while ago, out of the 14.48% of people that volunteered to do a focus group, we have a whopping 2 people here right now. So people are busy, things happen, who knows?
Yeah.
But if we can get this number up higher to have some real focus people here, it'd be fantastic. So talking to neighbors, friends, whatever else, and getting more to come would be very helpful to us.
Yeah.
So,
And that's gonna be the
could be
problem,
better at it
because
as well.
there was 985 people said no.
right.
We sent out 300 emails, and we're very happy you two came. That, I think, how are we gonna get them there? Is it by giving them a specific date, saying, we are doing a focus meeting here, would like to have you come? Is that gonna maybe motivate some of these people, instead of it being I don't wanna come to the economic development meeting?
Right. I mean, most people don't want to come to the economic development meeting. So even happier that you two came. But I think there's also, some of our very, I think Litchfield has some very highly talented people that may travel during the week. And so a Wednesday night may not be the best idea. But then again, just people want to give up on a Saturday morning, right? So I think you kind of got to move it around a little bit. And just because they didn't respond to the survey doesn't mean they can't be part of the focus group. I mean, everyone's welcome, getting the idea.
We can get it out there on our new
information
website.
Right. I think more people will be engaged as
Yeah.
you're speaking with them. And I think you're gonna find some
Yeah.
wonderful information in there that we didn't, nobody in the room thought of, that might just have us readjust, the whole group.
Are we
of
gonna-
things, I think.
Are we gonna send out another email with the time and place and?
Yes, so I
Can we
think,
not-
That's on
Maybe
the-
not put it as a focus group for the Economic Development Committee? Can we kind of like word that a little different, like we want to do a focus group to see, to discuss the results of the survey that was done? And we need your input. Now that you've told us what you'd like to have, we'd like to talk a little more on the details on it. Maybe the Economic Development Committee just sounds kind of.
Stodgy.
yeah, sure we
How it is
can. We
the
can
kinds
put
of
whatever
things-
you
Switch
want.
things around a little bit.
Worth having a meeting to see ways that we can lower your taxes.
That should bring people in.
It'll be divisive at least.
I think you'd have a lot of people coming.
Yeah.
I think so too, that would do it. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd welcome the input, cause.
Yes, any kind of solution or new growth
Oh,
or.
yeah, I love solutions.
I don't know if it'll be 2 meetings. I think it's gonna be more than that.
Well, I mean,
As you're getting people involved, and then
like a
they might
year
go off and make their own survey, right? Kind of thing.
And summer's tough, cause everyone's,
Oh, yeah, summer's tough.
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
family things.
Feels like
and-
summer.
It's a long-term project, not just a quick
Yeah.
answer.
No, we have a deadline by the 25th, by year 25, right?
Okay, Connie, you do it.
Is there anybody else for public input? No, we already had yours anyway. All right, I'll close public input then at, I'll say 7:57. Is it? 45? Whatever it is. 47. Sorry. All right.
I think one of the best ideas would be opening, like, asking for use of the gym at Campbell, or, the cafeteria, so that you can spread out and have groups
good
that
idea.
can really talk and work through.
Cafeteria might be a
So-
great.
Cafeteria is a better work, yeah.
And
Well, it has all the tables
people are
and
a
the
little
chairs.
bit more apt to come. A school is open and welcoming.
Yep.
Town halls is welcoming. We welcome everyone, trust me, but we tend to get less people.
I think it's an image thing.
It is, yeah.
But you'd still need the cable crew there, right? You said it's public, right? Still have to. You just need minutes? You okay with minutes?
So, 91A, open to the public does not mean televised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to tell them.
Publicized.
Yeah, no, I think that might be
That might be
intended
better.
for people,
Okay.
so it'd
Any
be better
meeting.
not to, yeah.
Just minutes then,
Yeah.
just high level?
Just written.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
To our next meeting?
No, we got one more thing. Discuss follow-up outreach surveys. So, so let's discuss next steps for the group here. So we kind of looked at the results again, just to get us all back on the same page, even though it's only been about 6 or 8 weeks, right? So now we have a focus group, or maybe we have one. We're deciding, right? So we're gonna send out another email, hopefully, to get some more
I think,
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
focus group if we can. I was just saying I could do better and start getting the word out myself to people to try to get that more,
Well, I think that, was it
Out there.
Connie that said if we had a date, and you could say, well, can't you
Yeah.
come on this date, so that we
place,
can,
yeah.
you know, it's not just out there in the future, maybe people would respond.
all right, so the next steps will be an invite, right, again?
Right.
So an invite, do you think a Saturday is better? I don't know, again, it's, sports and summer.
Yeah.
Or
sports
a
is-
4-hour window, they can come in at the 4 hours, they don't have to be there the whole time, you know, some
Well,
people.
sports will be
have
petering
schedules.
out a little bit. Summer sports are a little bit slower. So most spring stuff ends in a few weeks.
So, how about focus group? What do you think would work? Peers or anything? I don't know. They don't want to come to a stodgy meeting, is what you're saying, right?
I don't think so, no.
So,
You know, we're missing Jay tonight, and that's where, for this
Oh.
discussion, I think,
Oh, yeah,
he
that
would
would
bring a
be good.
lot to that.
Jay would?
Yeah, as far as next steps and how to structure it, because he's had so much experience with these.
okay.
I'd really love to get his input about how to market it, how it should be structured, and what we should put out there for expectations.
Okay.
I can talk to him. I mean,
I think
the
he's in
hard
Hudson.
part's going to be, it's just, there is a communication kind of,
Lag.
well, yes, thank
What
you.
was that? A communication
A
what?
lag.
Lag.
Yeah.
With, between what? Between
In
here?
Here.
just
One
in
month, once a
town,
month, maybe, is it?
you know, I mean, we can put it out, it's best if residents put it out and actively market it. But if we need a date, and if the longer we let it go from the survey, the more it's going to hurt us.
Yeah, be less interest.
Right.
You attach the results to the email.
I did, yes.
Right. So at least they have that, right? So that they're looking at that. All right.
This could be just the reality that people are not gonna come. I mean,
Yeah.
we got 14, those people who took the time to do the survey, only 14% wanna
Right.
partake in a focus group. And I think society now, this isn't the top of anybody's priorities. So, I mean, I think it falls unfortunately way at the bottom, and I think we're gonna struggle, you know, getting people to come in. I would love to be, proven wrong, but I do think that's gonna be a challenge. I mean, look at the school. The school had their focus groups, and they had open house with Griffin, and 3 people showed up.
Right.
So I think that's a real live issue that, we may not be able to overcome.
So in the perfect world, we have a lot of people show up at the focus groups. They give us some ideas and answers and comes back here, and then we decide how we're going to go with the next survey.
That's the idea.
Ideal world.
Right.
Not reality would be possibly 2 people, maybe 5 or 10 at the most, coming in with their ideas, and we're still at the same square as to, we take that information from only 2 people or 5 people, and do the same thing that we do if we had 100. That's kind of where we're at. If we've done this survey, which was a phenomenal survey, we got feedback. If people don't want to follow up on that, participating on the focus group, we can't force them.
Right.
And it's their loss, because you can't come, I mean, people will come back and say, well, gee, I didn't know that it was gonna cost me this, or how come you don't have the strip malls in there, or the Amazon, so that we have a lower tax base? They're not gonna buy it anyways. But it's the fact that those that want to be there will be there. And if they're not, we have to look at the reality of them not coming. And what do we do with that? We take the ones that do.
Or we
So-
market it, like you were saying, we have door prizes and bands.
Sure, we
Yeah,
do
you get
food.
an honorarium. to be-
Yeah, if we had food and drink, I'd get people down here. But
Yeah.
without food and drink, it'd be challenging.
You know, door prizes, raffles.
And calling it tax reduction.
So-
Won't get them in here, I don't think.
I mean, the new website does have some functionalities that we haven't had in the past. We can send out a survey. You know, we can ask for input from the community, but that's gonna take a while
I see.
to build those email addresses up and those contacts, because the residents, we're just starting to advertise it now because it goes live tomorrow, but the residents have to go to the website and create an account. And then they choose what they sign up for. So they might, you know, decide, I don't want to hear anything about the budget committee, but I want to hear about the board of selectmen, so they check that. But that's going to take a while to get that out and into the community.
Were the results posted on the social media town one?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You know, when you were looking for people, and I don't know how it worked out about the zoning board and planning, you know, you asked the other boards and commissions to kind of put out a public service announcement at our meetings.
Yeah.
So maybe we could do that at upcoming meetings and suggest that, you know, so the other boards and commissions would know to ask their friends, neighbors, and relatives to help us with the focus group. I don't know, just to get the
Right.
word, we need to get the word out. I don't think the word is out.
And there's nothing to say, and you can kind of think out of the box, right? So maybe they don't want to come to town hall, maybe they don't want to go to school. There's 6, 7 tables out in our new Veterans Park
Mm-hmm.
on a nice summer evening. We get people to show up at the Veterans Park and sit around the tables, and I mean, there's nothing to say this has to be in a structured facility. You can just think outside of the box and what people will be comfortable with. You know.
So another thought would be to, I'm part of the Knights of Columbus here in Litchfield, and emailing them about the meeting and trying to have some of them show up. Are there other groups in town that could be targeted as well? You know,
Rotary.
Yeah, there's
Lions
veterans
Veterans
groups.
Lions
Yeah.
Club, yeah, good idea.
That's a great idea.
See, yeah, that's excellent.
Plenty of sports groups.
Any connections with the sports group?
Yeah. Only 2.
Can you send out door flyers? Like, can you go drop in people's mailboxes for?
Are we allowed to do that? Too expensive? You're not allowed
You
to do it?
can't drop in mailboxes. You can mail.
Put 'em on there.
That's-
We can do
Staff.
mailers, but the
Expensive.
price is
Yeah.
Well, you could put,
gonna be
you
counterintuitive.
can
to us.
put something at someone's house, but you're not supposed to use the mailbox.
Yeah.
Unless it's been sent through the mail.
People do it all the time.
Yeah.
Your neighbor?
Reality, right?
People might, but the town doesn't.
No, I agree
Yeah.
100%, but I'm just saying, if you see it, and you're probably like, why is there a difference? People
Oh.
tend to do that.
The only one thing that we mail is the voter's guide.
Oh, I got mail from the town last week. I got
did
my
I.
tax bills.
2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Close, and you
Well,
never,
that's not.
and they always
Well,
show
that's
up.
kind of informational.
Just
but-
saying.
So are we gonna have a next meeting? Do you want one? There was a tentative one, July 31st or something I saw.
Do
but-
you want this information?
Oh, I know what I was gonna say.
And, I mean, I have to have a conversation with, Jay.
Yep.
On some of this, so we can absolutely get some information if he can't come to the next meeting on what he suggests for the focus groups.
Mhm.
So do we wanna meet again before we schedule
We definitely should.
Yeah.
focus
We
groups?
meet again, at least maybe try to get some ideas for focus groups or titles for them or
Questions.
Right, what would the,
Yeah.
something.
a list of questions that they would
guidelines.
work on? Yeah, I
Right.
think we need that. Right now, we don't.
So
we're
then you
not-
brought up a really valid point that if we don't get this thing moving, the
Right.
excitement's gonna be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we do need another meeting to structure it, like, what is the focus group gonna look like?
Right.
What is
Mhm,
it?
Right, yes.
Yeah, yeah, you just, if you bring people in here and there's no structure and formality.
You're right,
and
it's
then
gonna be
it's not gonna
frustrated,
happen,
yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I'm done.
And we
You
need
know?
some handouts.
Yeah, so I think the next meeting would really hone in on, well, we're gonna have 2 focus groups, these are the dates, the topics for focus group 1 is gonna be this, the topic for focus groups 2, this is the structure, we're gonna hand out questionnaires, we're gonna do surveys, we're gonna do whatever it is, I think we really should have a good idea of how that's
Right.
gonna look.
So the next meeting is on the calendar as July 31st.
We're not doing the June
Yeah.
26th one?
It's a long time.
Not in June?
Was there one in June?
We see Jay on Monday, right? SIP, unless that's been, well, it might be the
No.
the following
You have a
Monday.
board meeting Monday.
following Monday. What don't we see? at
The
SIP?
17th
Yeah,
is the new
Well, I'll see him
SIP
before then.
meeting, so.
Yeah, that's
But I
SIP,
have
yeah.
to talk to him about something some stormwater, that he worked on for the planning board.
So you're asking about June
So-
versus July,
Well,
right?
June 26th is the next end of
So why
month
do I see
Wednesday.
July on this thing here?
Can everybody do it
Just-
June, I could do
could've-
June 26th.
This meeting here was, the last one was 2 months before, and I know I came in here, I'm a fairly busy person, I'm not trying to brag, but I wasn't quite fresh on,
I know, I
what we were
agree
going
with you
into,
on
right,
that.
you know,
yeah.
so-
It'd be good to have it
I
in
think the
June
once
if
a
we
month is a
can.
bare minimum for us to meet on this stuff.
Yeah.
Until we get this
So-
rolling, yeah.
Sorry, June 26th.
Right, so that, okay.
June 26th, yep.
All right, so right here, same place, same time, June 26th, correct?
Yep,
Is it on the town calendar already?
it is,
Okay, good.
yep.
So,
I
we'll
have
be here
that.
June 26th. Hopefully you can.
Do you wanna try to schedule now, something for a focus group? Maybe right after that, maybe the Saturday after that, or, well,
Do you
that's,
need to talk to Jay?
Vacation.
yeah, 4th of July, actually, it's very
Is
close.
there anything
Oh,
on-
yeah, we need
And
Jay's
we can't-
time.
Yeah. we
Yeah,
have to be
Jay
at-
is
She has a lot of research.
crazy busy.
Quantitative questions
I'm
we
just
have
trying,
to.
I'm trying to get a date picked, so in the email you send out, it
The
can have
one
date
after
on.
that is July 31st, so
Like,
you
try to
wanna be
get a focus
careful
group
about
on-
going in July. It's a huge vacation month.
Yeah, that's
4th of July. Same thing with, unfortunately, June is wrap up of school, right? Families that have school kids are
right.
just
Vacation.
crazy in June.
Like on August 3rd then, the first Saturday in August? Just get a date on the calendar to shoot at.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're just kinda, walking around the dark.
We gotta look at everybody's schedule.
Focus group meeting?
Just needs to get it out there and,
To have the
dates
focus group.
subject to change, but this is.
We
what
were
we're
saying
looking-
a Saturday morning to
Right.
do it.
I would like, I think like Peter said, to see what Jay thinks. Is Saturday effective for focus groups? Should it be? I don't know. I think
Tough in the
getting
summer.
his
What do you
feedback-
guys think?
I can't make Saturdays.
Okay,
I think a Saturday is easier to get to than trying to scramble from work.
Right,
Also, Saturdays can be very busy.
I know.
correct.
what day would work good?
So how about a weeknight that would be like, not at 6:30, would 7 o'clock be better?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, it's easier to plan, for me personally, probably like Wednesdays or Thursdays.
Okay, I understand, yeah, because people don't want to tie up their weekend.
So,
Are we gonna do the school? Kath?
So midweek, around 7 o'clock at a large public facility. So,
yep,
I think the school cap sounds like a good place.
I think I
They
think
close
we
the
better
school
just
down, though.
focus on a
tables and
medium,
chairs.
a medium-sized facility
right, I
at
think
this.
where people can spread out.
Do they
and-
close the
Yeah,
school?
but I don't think we need to plan on 100 at this
Is the
point.
school
No, no.
closed? Are they closing the school down? I don't know what they do in,
Not before the end of June.
when do they go till? Mid-June, right?
Yes, for policy
So-
weekend, pretty much is it.
Just make sure the building's open is all.
They can't because
Do they do
the
summer school?
full-time custodians work year-round.
Do they do
Yeah,
summer school
so-
and stuff? It's open, right?
Yeah, I think we're still using the gyms all summer for that too.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So are we picking a date today? We're waiting to talk to Jay about.
Well, you gotta find out, we were,
problem is, I can email
Your
the
emails.
committee, but it's a public document,
Oh,
so
Yeah.
don't email me back, please.
So our next meeting's June 26th.
yes.
that's where we
This group's
stand.
gonna be after that?
Yeah, and we'll try to have all this information,
Mm-hmm.
plus either Jay here or information from Jay.
Okay, all right, so we'll move
So
forward.
we'll set
Good.
that date next.
so
Yeah,
That sounds great.
you need Aaron and Jim's email? I know they're in the big 300, but are you gonna send that out to all 300 again? So they'll get it, or do you want their emails specifically, or?
well, we don't have a date yet, but I think we need to email everyone and just keep
So do
them
the whole 300?
Yeah, as long as you.
engaged.
If you get the last one, check your
I
email
don't wanna
box
leave 'em
again.
out.
Yeah,
Keep that going your way.
Thank you guys for.
so maybe I'll
Appreciate it.
I'll email when Matt has the minutes to this meeting done. I can email people the minutes and say that we had more discussion. We're still working on a date for the focus group and,
Yeah.
stay tuned for June 26th for our next meeting or something to keep them engaged.
And if they're interested, then come to the next meeting, June 26th.
Definitely,
Yeah.
please come.
You see how much fun it is.
All right, does anybody have any other business? No? Nope, all right, entertain a motion to, end the meeting, adjourn.
I feel so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Let's, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Laura didn't raise their hand. Who doesn't want to leave? Does anybody not want to adjourn? Abstaining? Is that a yes? Oh, I did, okay, usually we do this, okay. All right, we're
No, we're
adjourned
actually on a
at
second meeting right
8:06. Thank you.
One of the
You,
killers,
thank
man.
you
It's awesome.
both. There's a lot coming
Let's
at
get
you
a-
tonight, right? There's-
No breaks, no stopping.
We know, because we're on other committee, you know what I mean? We've been planning and so we see this, but